Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. I'm Rick Whitman, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 34 years. I've helped over 5,200 folks finance their homes. My team and I believe in custom tailored loans, not the one size fits all approach. We believe there is the right mortgage for you, and we believe we are the team to deliver it.
And I'm Ian Arnold, part of Rick's hardworking mortgage team. I've been in the financial industry for over 15 years, helping customers rebuild their credit to get the best possible interest rates. I have a passion in helping you secure your overall real estate dreams and also hopefully paying off your home even faster.
And for the most up-to-date information on mortgages or the Indy's real estate market, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call Ian or I at 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And today we have Ryan Rominger. I did it wrong. Rominger. Rominger. I got it. Hot dog. Rominger. Ryan Rominger.
Well, people don't know you were practicing for 10 minutes before the show. So.
And I still got it wrong. I'm no longer going to waste my time. I'm going to get it wrong.
Hey, just go, hey, you.
Yeah. And you're with Compass.
Yeah, I'm with Compass. Just say, hey, you, I want to buy a house. And I'll respond.
Yeah, that works as well as anything, right?
Yeah, it works.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us. We really do appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And what did you do before real estate? Where were you born? Where were you raised? Kind of your story before real estate.
Yeah, so I had a couple of different roles before real estate, kind of different careers, I guess. I actually, I went to college for business. I majored in economics, and right after college, my first kind of adult job, I worked for Jimmy John's. Actually, I was a franchise auditor for them, so my job was to kind of travel around the greater, in just pretty much most of the state of Indiana, and I would audit stores and make sure that they were making sandwiches correctly and I'd check their books and check their cleanliness. And so that was what I did for a while after college. Eventually got to the point where I was happy. I'd learned a lot, but I didn't want to really build my career in the restaurant industry. So from there, I actually went into logistics. I worked in the logistics industry for a while. Ended up spending a couple of years working for a freight brokerage in the pricing and analytics side. So I was just spending my time looking at spreadsheets and putting together RFPs for companies like Nestle and just different pricing for different trucking lanes and things like that. And that was another interesting industry I learned a lot from, but ultimately, I think I kind of just had the itch for entrepreneurship. I wanted to own my own business, and I was really interested in what was going on in Indianapolis real estate. So 2018, got my real estate license. I actually launched a property management company at the same time. So I do that in addition to being a licensed real estate agent. And that was kind of what got me to it.
Now, where did you go to school for economics?
So I went to Liberty University.
Okay.
So Central Virginia.
Yeah.
It was a great experience. Met my wife there.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So it all worked out.
It all worked out.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of what got me to. My wife is originally from Greenwood.
Okay.
That's kind of what got me to the Central Indiana area.
So I got to ask, what in the world's going on with our economy right now?
Man, it's a great question. I may have majored in economics, but I wouldn't even call myself an economist.
Yeah. I don't think they are either.
I don't think they are either. Yeah.
You're in good company. You don't have to answer that.
All I can say is interest rates. I would like them to come down.
Yeah,
me too.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah. It's a bizarre time. So you did that. How did you end up in real estate? And then also, how did what you did before, how did that translate and transfer over to real estate to help you, do so well in real estate?
Well, so my wife and I bought our first home in 2016. So that was when I was still working in logistics. Had a pretty positive experience with our real estate agent. No complaints. But I was one of those clients that I was so fascinated with the process. Like, I'm asking all the questions like outside of like, the purchase we were making. I'm like, so how do agents like get paid? How do how does this all work? I was just so fascinated by because it's just not something like my parents like owned their own home, and I'd known people that had owned houses, but it was just something you don't like. I was never really introduced to it, as a kid, like kind of how the home buying process works. So I was so fascinated by it, and then that coincided with over those couple of years, like leading up to when I finally got my license and got started in real estate. It was so fascinating to me, just looking at what was going on in Indianapolis real estate and how much the market was growing, how many people were moving to Indianapolis, and people buying properties and renovating them, flipping properties, and just the amount of growth that was happening in the market. Plus, I'm originally from California. All of my immediate family is still out there, and so I'd hear them talking about like, yeah, 2-bedroom costs $700K now.
Right.
And then I'm here in Indianapolis. I'm like, you can get one for $100K here.
Right.
Like, it's so just this huge disparity I'm noticing between the prices of houses, like just across the country, and that was so interesting to me. And the name of our property management company is actually Intrigue Indy, and that's where the name kind of comes from. It's like it's such an intriguing. It's intriguing what is happening in real estate, not just in Indianapolis, but across the country.
Right.
So I couldn't stay away from it.
Yeah. So how much property do you have under management?
So we manage a little bit over 400 units.
Wow.
Currently.
That's incredible. 400 single units, or they're doubles? Are there apartment buildings? What all is in that?
It's all the above.
Really?
Okay. Yeah. We so it's mostly single families and then smaller multifamilies, so
Okay.
2 through 4 units. But we manage a couple of apartment buildings. We've got a 14 unit in Irvington that we manage. A couple of like a 20 and a 22 unit apartment building. So some smaller. Yeah. In the world of apartments, that's on the small, right. Very small side.
Yeah.
So I do have to ask, what's the benefit? Let's say if I had 3 or 4 rental properties going through a company like that, what's the benefit?
Yeah, working with a property management company. So there are a lot. I mean, what maybe the more obvious would be like you could just be more hands off. You're not the one receiving the phone call if the toilet's not working in the middle of the night. So dealing with coordinating maintenance, that's one of the responsibilities of your property manager. So they take care of all that for you, so you can kind of focus on other aspects of your life. Many of our clients, like, they hire us because they have investments all over the country. They don't want to be responsible for being the go-to maintenance operations person for all of those properties. So being able to hire different property managers helps them to really manage their business as a whole. It's so that's a big part of it. Some of our clients still like to be pretty hands-on, but they really enjoy getting to lean on us for our processes that we've got in place. So we've developed processes over a long period of operating, and we know what works and what doesn't, and so kind of having that professional advisor that's there in the market locally, that's a big reason.
I personally think it's kind of like hiring a real estate agent. I think it doesn't cost you any money to hire an agent. I think you actually make money. If you're going to sell your house, you make money by hiring a professional guru real estate agent, because they know how to price it. They know how to negotiate. They know how to work out your inspection responses. There's just so many things that they know how to do. And I look at it the exact same way. I had rental property years ago, and the only time I made money was when I hired a property management. Now, you would think you'd make money because you aren't paying the property manager, but the reality is they priced it better than I did. They knew how to price it. They knew how to rent it. They took care of the maintenance. It was the best. I mean, it was the only time I ever made money.
Yeah.
So it was the only time it worked.
Yeah, it's true. And honestly, so one of the sort of I think it often goes unnoticed with the best property manager. You may not even notice the value that they're providing, but what often happens is there's when it's the context of it's a single family home and a tenant leases it from a private owner, and they have the lease agreement signed with the owner. They have the owner's cell number. If anything goes wrong with that property, I mean, the most minor, like the door isn't shutting the right way, like that owner's getting a call, and that tenant might be blowing up that owner's phone, or it might say, you might get to the renewal, and then it's, I don't really like these kitchen cabinets. I'll renew if you replace the kitchen cabinets, and you get these sort of like tenants trying to make deals, which is, I understand, but that tends to just happen less if a property management company is involved, because it's just the recognition of like, oh, this company probably has processes in place, and I'm not going to be able to sort of finagle something to work in my favor. So that just the context helps a lot to sort of have that buffer.
Yeah, I mean, it takes the emotional state out. So where most people would be like, "Oh, you're on rough times. I understand. I'll give you a month." When you have somebody like a company, it's like, "No, you're due. Let's go."
Yeah, the rent's due on the first, always.
So it takes that emotion out, which is nice, especially for the person who owns the house, actually. So so I know that you had a different career to start. How'd you even get going? I mean, most people are like, "Oh, my parents showed me the way," and stuff like that. So how did you end up get going?
So it's interesting. I grew up around. My dad worked in construction management, so and for kind of bigger projects, but he like renovated our house growing up and stuff. So I got to see a lot of at least the physically how a house works growing up. So I had that exposure to it. So I think that gave me some confidence in terms of like getting into real estate and sort of having that construction knowledge base. I also have an uncle who's like he's a real estate developer out in on the West Coast, and I worked for him for a summer, like hanging drywall in these like strip malls in Fresno, California. So that was so I've had some experiences that definitely helped like set a foundation. But really, we definitely live in a world where entrepreneurship can be very hard to get started in. It's like you hear about tech companies doing like multiple rounds of funding, and it seems like you have to go from 0 to 100 like really fast, just in order to be successful. And I really wanted to find a business that I could start organically and just like have a couple of clients and then have a couple more clients and real estate was the only thing I landed on that I was like, I can grow a business here. I can add value to a couple of clients from day one, and work really hard and just slowly grow this business. And that's exactly, what I was looking for.
So did you have a rental property when you started, or did you?
No, I didn't. So by that time, my wife and I we were on our second home that we had. So we sold the first one, which, it's not that I regret it, but I'll probably never sell a property again if I don't have to. Just because, like,
we need properties.
That's true. Yeah, definitely sell. But I mean, I'm also like I'm a big when I sit down with people that are, especially right now, like with where interest rates are, I'm always like straight up with sellers. I say if it were me, I'd be looking at what it could rent for and what it could sell for, and you have both options. And if you have a 2% interest rate, maybe hold on to it and turn it. If your mortgage is $1,000 a month and you can lease it for close to $2,000, you're in the money. And there's a lot of people that are in that situation. So, when I'm talking to buyers that are just like, why is our prices not going down when it's so hard to buy a property? That's why. Like, people are locked to their properties, and their low interest rates, and like nobody wants to sell. So it's So the economy, right?
That's daggone economy. So if somebody wanted to maybe buy a home, sell a home, or maybe they're looking for a property management company, what is the best way to get a hold of you?
All the above. I mean, you can reach out to me at my cell number. I can give that here. It's 317-935-0075. Or feel free to shoot me an email, ryan.rominger at compass.com. Rominger is Rominger. Email, phone. You can visit us on our website, neighbors.team. That's not .com, just neighbors.team is the place to reach us.
That's a great one, by the way. Neighbors.team.
Yeah, that's us. Neighbors Home Team. Yeah.
That's a great one. And to go get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And thank you for listening to Indy's Real Estate Gurus. The gurus we interview share valuable insights. They reveal their strengths, personalities, and how they'll work for you. While we hardworking mortgage guys secure your best mortgage, real estate gurus work hard too. They avoid problems the amateurs just don't see. They listen, they find unrealized opportunities. If you're buying or selling a home, a real estate guru is a valuable asset. If you're even thinking of buying or selling a home, keep listening and definitely call one of Indy's real estate gurus.
All right, so we're going to take a little side step. Let's get to know you more. So let's say I take away your phone for 24 hours. You cannot work. After you get done having a heart attack, what do we catch you doing for fun?
If I could just sit in that headspace for a second, I would love that. Take my phone away for. I mean, what I like to do for fun. I actually, so I don't get to do this a lot out here, but I'm actually pretty into snowboarding. So at least like once or twice a year, we try to go find a mountain with some snow on it, and so I really do enjoy snowboarding. I grew up doing that, from being from the Central Valley in California. We were just a couple hours away from some ski places.
That's the cool part. One of the cool parts of California is that you're 2 hours from the slopes and you're 2 hours from the ocean or less,
It's true. I mean, I tell people I'm from California, and I often get so beaches, right? You're like a real beach kind of guy. And I was like, no, the mountains are really what I miss more, is getting up to the high elevations and snow. But yeah, snowboarding is a hobby. I mean, my wife and I, we both love coffee, so we just love checking out a good coffee shop. That's one of our happy places for sure.
Hot or cold?
I'm a cold coffee guy. I'm always getting iced.
Yeah, that's same here. I can't stand the hot coffee. Cold coffee or iced coffee, so good.
Yeah. It doesn't matter the time of year. Yeah, 365 days of the year, I'm getting iced coffee. Yeah.
So my brother got into snowboarding. He's in the Air Force and got stationed in Japan and got into snowboarding. He says that's the best he's ever had was in Japan. Yeah. So where do you find one of your best spots?
Well, so I got to stay true to my origins here, which is not actually. So my dad's side of the family is all from Colorado. So every once in a while we'd take a trip out to southern Colorado, which is that's not Denver. It's kind of hard to get to, but we would go to my dad's side of the family has a cabin along the Rio Grande River in outside of South Fork. Which is 15 minutes from Wolf Creek ski area. And they're probably by number of people every year, they probably do some of the lowest numbers out of any of the places. Maybe I'm blowing up their spot a little bit here, but they have the most snow of they just wow. Get dumped on. There's something about where they're located. but it's a great place to go find like fresh powder, and it's not like going to be the number of runs and stuff they have. It's not as big as like a Vail or a Breckenridge kind of place, but I mean, it's awesome. It's a fun place.
Yeah, I've never been snowboarding, and I don't like coffee, but I used to love snow skiing, but snowboarding was just like when I was young, snowboarding was not a thing yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say this, I think it's one of the most interesting things to watch. I think you're crazy.
Yeah.
It's just the things people can do even on skis. It's unbelievable what people can do and will do on them.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny that like, snowboarding is kind of, it's the rebellious thing. Like back in the 80s, it was the new, like that was a big thing at so many mountains, like no snowboarding allowed, just because it was associated with rock and roll and drugs. Like it's just like it's just
that was my era.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I've watched the documentaries. But it was funny because I've heard I hope I'm not getting his name wrong, but I think Travis Carpenter, the guy who started Burton Snowboards.
Okay.
I've listened to him tell his story about like starting Burton Snowboards, and like he was hand making these snowboards and like selling them out of the back of his trunk, like at ski areas, like and the kind of the resistance they just got hit with, and it was it's like there was a big industry around skis and stuff, and like people just didn't like the change, but it's always been interesting to me that like snowboarding is seen as like sort of the more crazy compared to skiing, because it's like it's way easier to get hurt on skis, like because you see skiers like can twist their ankles like so easy because your legs move independently, so you get all sorts of knee injuries and stuff like, and the bindings they're kind of made like you pop out of them, so it probably doesn't happen as much, but you can get I sort of have the opposite. I almost have like the fear of like because I can ski too. I've been on skis, but I've sort of had the like whenever I'm on skis, I'm nervous I'm gonna like blow my knee out. Whereas like snowboarding, it's like you're all one, like you're bound to the board, and your body kind of moves together, your legs stay together.
Okay.
So that's always been interesting to me. Like I literally feel like more safe on a snowboard compared to skis.
So this winter, how about you take Rick and you take him snowboarding?
I'd love to do that. Yeah.
I look at the fear in the eyes right now.
I have no balance. Okay. I have never had balance.
There's bunny slopes, sir. You can start on the bunny slopes.
Listen, I'm guessing it's harder to stand up on a snowboard than it is on skis. Is that wrong?
Well, it's not that hard to stand up. It's staying up. That's what.
Okay. It's harder to stay up on a snowboard than on skis. Do you have to have balance?
I mean, yeah, I think balance is certainly
probably
a thing.
Yeah.
Keep your knees bent, that kind of thing. But you kind of go from edge to edge. An interesting thing I always sort of like compare snowboarding to skiing. I have such an so when you're talking about like a beginner or intermediate level, snowboarders tend to have an easier time with really steep terrain, because with snowboarding, like it's actually really easy to stay on an edge. So
Okay.
one side or the other of your board. Whereas skiing, it's really easy to stay flat. Whereas snowboarding, that's a really uncomfortable position actually. So like they call them the catwalks. Like so like when you finish like a kind of an easier like green circle run, there might be a catwalk. So just a long, barely graded long stretch to get back to kind of the base camp area. And riding on catwalks on a snowboard is so hard, because you're just like trying to like not go one direction or the other. Whereas skiing, like that's just like the most relaxing part of the day.
Right.
But snowboarding, you actually feel way more comfortable when you're on a mountain that looks like, it's like an angle.
45-degree angle.
Yeah, because
90-degree angle.
Up on one. Yeah, maybe 45. I'm not that good. I don't want to.
Oh, I watch the skiers and the snowboarders when you see them out in the middle of the nowhere and the things that they'll do and jump off cliffs. Basically, it's just crazy.
Yeah, it's wild. People take it to the extreme. I guess that's the way they call it, extreme sports.
That's right. But now we know what he would do, and it sounds like fun for you and him. I'm not doing it.
I got a young kid. We can do it later.
Yeah, we should talk to him about it. Yeah, I bet he would be up for it.
Actually, it'd probably be my daughter more than my son, which is weird.
Yeah. Well, I'll do it in Indiana.
Yeah, Lodge is fun to hang out with.
If there's small enough hills in Indiana to do it, I'll do it there.
I think there is. There's a place outside of like Cincinnati that's what's it? Perfect North.
Okay.
People go down there a lot. It's like it's all fake snow and stuff,
yeah,
but it's a hill.
When I was younger, the first places I skied was here in Indiana, right, in Ohio, and then I went to Colorado. And I will say it was much easier to ski in Colorado than it was in Indiana, because the slopes are very small in Indiana, and there's a billion people on them. I mean, it was dangerous because of all the people. So I much preferred, like Copper and Keystone and Breckenridge. I'd much prefer those areas.
Yeah, it's so much easier to ski or snowboard on fresh, good snow versus like icy or hard packed snow. Like it's like trying to, it's grass versus concrete.
Well, if somebody wanted to get a hold of you for real estate, or for buying, selling, maybe managing their properties, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so they can feel free to call or text me anytime, 317-935-0075. Once again, that's 317-935-0075. They can also feel free to shoot me an email. I've got a Compass email. It's just ryan.rominger@compass.com. Or they can also email me at Ryan, just RYAN, at intriguepm.com. That's our management website is intriguepm.com. So they can find us there as well.
Perfect. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938.
All right, so now we'll just get into the question of the week. And the question of the week is sponsored by, hey, Rick and I, the Hardworking Mortgage Guys, where we believe in helping and supporting you and your realtor by sending constant updates through your loan process. We don't like living in a black hole, so we do not allow you to. All right, so here's a tough question. What was your first car?
My first car. It was a Lexus, which sounds better than it is.
So far, that's good.
It was a Lexus. I want to say LS 400. I know it was an LS, but I think it was an LS 400.
Okay. Yeah.
It was a 1994 Lexus LS 400. So if you, I don't know if you can picture what one of those looks like, but it's kind of the old. It's the 90s like boxy Lexus, like square lights in the front. Very pretty gangster car.
Pretty big.
Pretty big car. Yeah. It was like my parents, like, they loved Lexuses. They had that car. That's the car my mom drove for a long time. And then when I turned 16, she got like a new ES 330, and I got the old LS 400. But that was it.
That seems fair.
Pulling up to high school in a Lexus.
So were you cool because it was a Lexus, or were you not cool because it was a LS 400?
Well, I don't know if the Lexus helped or hurt. I don't know how cool I was in high school.
Okay. How cool did you think you were?
Cool enough. I got by.
Yeah. So that's a pretty good car. At least it's a nice car to drive, right?
Yeah. I mean, it held up fine. Well, so it's funny. It was fine all the way through driving it through high school. Then I left for college, and my parents still held on to it. It was sort of just like their just extra car. And one summer, it was actually the summer I was working for my uncle construction up in Fresno. But I was driving back and forth from Visalia, which was like this 45-minute drive. And it was one of the days driving back, like totally broke down on the side of the interstate, on the 99 down there. It had a bunch of blown hoses or something.
All right, now I know you're lying. Lexuses do not break down.
I mean, after this was 2013. So, I mean, it had like a 20-year run. It did.
Yeah.
It did
Okay.
But yeah, it was pretty much toast after that. I think they tried to fix it a couple of times, but yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty impressed until then, because most of the stories, not most, a lot of the stories we hear, it's I had that car. It was a great car. We had it for 6 months, and then I totaled it, or then it blew up, or forgot to put oil in it. There's lots of things kids forget to do.
That's true.
But let's move on to more real estate. So what would you say your superpower or superpowers are?
So I would definitely say what makes me unique as a real estate agent is I really try to take a very well-rounded approach to working with buyers and sellers. And the fact that I work in property management, leasing, in addition to helping people, I've worked with first-time home buyers. I've worked with investors, buying their 20th property. So I've worked with all ranges of experience level when it comes to buying and selling. And specifically, when I'm working with a seller, I mentioned earlier, I really try to just paint a picture of what all of their options are. So that's always what I want, people to know. I want people to be well informed when they're going into any transaction. That's what, I would want to be well informed if I'm in that position.
Right.
So that's really the unique thing I try to bring. I take elements of leasing and property management, and that informs my, how I help people in real estate. And the way I help people in leasing and property management, I take information that I've learned from helping people in real estate transactions. So, it's not just about what it can rent for. It's let's consider resale too, and all of those elements. They just go hand in hand.
Well, it makes sense. I never thought of it before, but if you're showing people properties to buy, you hear everything that they like and don't like. So you hear the consistencies. So then somebody looking to buy a house to rent, the renter is going to be looking at pretty much the same thing a home buyer is going to be looking at, right?
Yeah. There are differences between kind of renters and home buyers. Cosmetically, they're looking for a lot of the same things. A renter is not necessarily going to care how old the roof is, because they don't have to pay for it if it's done. So there's some, buyers might care more about the mechanicals of a property. But I think it's interesting. If you're talking to a real estate agent and they say I only help people buy investment properties, I would run away, because if that's true, then it's well, if you're talking to me about this investment property to buy, if I'm an investor, I care about, after I fix it up, how much is it worth, and what's the best strategy? What should I do on the renovation to kind of maximize what I can sell this property for? And what's the best strategy for selling that? And if I'm working with an agent that, has never sold a property that's, ready to be owner occupied, that's, we call it retail ready, that's ready to sell for top of the market. If the agent doesn't have experience in that, they're not going to be able to inform you as well, kind of on the front end of that investment.
Yeah, I think it's vital that especially for somebody buying an investment, they have somebody like you who knows both sides and knows investment properties. Because to me, even if they don't have you manage it, the advice you can give them, the knowledge you can give them to help them if they do make it a property like that. And on the other side, it makes sense if I'm buying a house to have somebody like you who knows, okay, I probably should not sell this house. Maybe I'm better off renting it. At least you can look at it and make that decision.
Right. As the every situation is different, right? I would never judge somebody for if they've got positive appreciation and they're in a good equity position on a property. If they want to sell and use that money for something else, that's the beauty of home ownership. They have the freedom to do that. I just want my clients to be informed of if you didn't want to lose that interest rate that we may never see again. you know, here's how you could potentially hold on. Like I just, I would want to know I had that option if I were in that position.
So what would you say if somebody's looking to try to find an agent? What type of characteristics or traits should somebody look for?
Honesty and transparency. I mean, that's the biggest thing. Just working with an agent that you feel confident, you can trust, and that they have your best interest in mind. Um, that that's going to go a long way. And also just overall experience. The more types of transactions the agent has been through, the better they're going to be able to help if you go through something similar. So that's what I would always recommend looking for is you want somebody who's seen some things.
Yeah, the more experience they have, the better.
Yeah.
Or have a team that the mentors, because nobody's seen everything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the longer you've been in it, the more you've sold. It doesn't even length of time isn't necessarily that important. As important as how much volume you do. But as long as you have a team around you like you do,
Mm-hmm.
that if you haven't seen it, there's probably somebody you can ask that's seen it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and that, so, when I say experience, it doesn't mean like, I always think about like the first or second year agents that are like, come on, don't tell people that. Like, like they should work with me. But no, like there's some great reasons to work with agents that are in their first or second year in the business, but they should have, you should ask them, what's the support system you have behind you, and they should be able to tell you,
Right.
if we've got any questions, here's how we can get answers.
Yeah, that makes all the difference. I think you're uniquely qualified to answer this next question. We ask of a lot of people, but what do you, as you look at, the value of buying a home, not, financially, but somebody who's looking to buy a home, what would what is the financial and maybe the all the benefits people receive by being homeowners?
There are so many, but to start with, I mean, you're building equity, which sounds like kind of like this buzzword, but I think sometimes like people that have never owned a home or haven't really heard that defined, like understand like what does it mean to build equity. It just means you're paying down you start your home with a mortgage that's at a fixed amount. Maybe you have 200,000 left on it to pay down after your down payment. You're working that number down while the value historically will steadily increase. And it might have some little peaks and valleys, but overall, over a span of 2 to 5 years, the value of your home that's you bought for 250, maybe it's 270, then 280, 290. So it's going up in value while the amount you owe on it is going down, and that difference is that's what we call equity, and so that's what you own, and that's huge, because that's not happening when you're renting. So if you're renting a property, you're just paying money, to the landlord every month. You're never going to see that money again, and then when you move, you've got no equity to take with you into the new place. So financially, I think that's one of the big ones, and what I think that's kind of I think the one that always gets mentioned as like the financial one. But I think the other big one is security. The fact that people hear 30-year mortgage and I think they get scared and they're like, oh, I have to pay this for 30 years no matter what. No, you can still sell the house, and if you're in a positive equity position, like you still get proceeds from the sale, and that whole loan just gets paid off through the sale. But what's great about a 30-year fixed mortgage, is that you are, you're able to continue having the same payment for 30 years, which is never going to be the case with renting. So if your rent is $1,200 this year, and you could have a mortgage that's also $1,200, this year, in 5 years from now, your mortgage is $1,200. And that rent is probably, I don't know, $1,600. It's the rent slowly goes up,
right?
And you're never going to have security when you're renting a property. Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't have the same. I don't know. From everything I've seen, and even being, years ago being a renter, you don't have the same emotional attachment to a rental property that you do.
You're a guest.
Yes.
You live in somebody else's property, and you're paying them so that you can
Yeah.
do so.
Although I've seen people or had people who've, rented for 30 years, same property.
Yeah, I mean, it's so common in really big cities like New York, Chicago, LA. Like, it's not uncommon at all to you could be doing really well financially and still be lifelong renter. And knowing that, I think that living in a place like Indianapolis, where the cost to rent a property compared to the cost to buy a property, they're so comparable. Like, if you couldn't do the same thing in New York City or Chicago, so knowing what a unique sort of opportunity that is, like that to me gives me the perspective I need to be like, oh, we get to own property here. That is awesome.
Yeah. It's not that way in California, right? From what I understand, in California, it's a market that the prices are so high that you can't really rent it and have a profit.
No, well, yeah. If you were to buy a property as an investment in California, you wouldn't be we call it like cash flow positive.
Right.
You wouldn't be cash flow positive renting it. In markets like that, there are still people buying investment properties, or oftentimes they're doing like developments, multiple units, and instead of calculating things in terms of how much positive cash flow do I have each month, it's how many years until I have positive cash flow.
Okay.
Because they just project rents. They know rents are inevitably going to increase each year, and their financing is going to stay the same. So they just buy properties in anticipation of they're going to be losing money each month, until they get to that point where rents have passed what they're. So
okay, and they must be working off appreciation.
Well, and then appreciation too is the other benefit of like buying properties in markets that don't have positive cash flow. They're they might be banking off of the appreciation being enough to satisfy owning the property.
All right, so I have a good question for you. What do you think your most memorable deal was, or most memorable property management story is?
Wow. Most memorable deal.
I stumped him.
No, there's just so many. Just like that. I remember them all. I'm just trying to think. What's the best story? I'll always remember. I had a local client that lived out toward Speedway area, and he was kind of a local investor. He owned like a bunch of properties. 3 of them were in a row, all out in Speedway, kind of along like Crawfordsville Road, and then he had this duplex in Ransom Place, so kind of the west side of downtown. And I, had the privilege of I was able to slowly help him sell, all of those because he was relocating for work out west, and it's always going to be memorable to me because it's like I helped him sell all these investment properties, and he was so smart to to buy these properties at a good time, and he was in a good position. He was operating them as rental properties. Good position to sell each of them. And by the time he sold all of them, he had just enough to buy a 5-bedroom house in Utah. So I always think that's fun. And I mean, and he was totally, content doing that. But I always think that's funny. We literally sold 4 properties and
to get one. Yeah. Different in values, right? Yeah. So what would you say the misconceptions people have of being a real estate agent? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, I I think it's almost a if I didn't work in real estate, I think I would enjoy like HGTV or Selling Sunset is like the big shows like about real estate. But I can't. I almost can't watch them. Like being a real estate agent, just because you get so like there's so many misconceptions they're putting. So many of these shows put out, like especially like Selling Sunset, where it's like it's like being a real estate agent is mainly about how you dress. And showing up and we're always showing luxury properties, right? It's no, it's you can. And what's funny is like the way like I'll go from this should have maybe been my funny memorable real estate experience, but like I'll go from showing a $1.5 million house on Geist Reservoir to walking a 100K distressed property like on the north side of downtown. Like it's that's just the life. But you're if you're working in real estate, and it could be for the same client. That's the crazy thing is like I've had investor clients that I'm helping them buy these investment projects, but then I might help them buy their personal residence as well. That's a nice condo downtown. So it's if you're a good real estate agent, you're here for the needs of your clients. And so I think that from the outside, people have like this perception that real estate is always like, oh, you pick your niche. Like, I'm going to be a luxury realtor. I'm only going to sell luxury real estate. And there might be agents that kind of operate that way, but I think even agents that have a certain niche that they serve a lot of, they do all of it. Like that's the honest truth is like they're like everybody's you want to experience every kind of at least within residential, right? You want to experience every kind of transaction.
Yeah. So if somebody has any real estate needs, they want to buy, sell, they want to use your property management company, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
So they can reach out to me. Phone is easiest. Call or text me 317-935-0075. That's my cell number. Once again, that's 317-935-0075. They can visit our website. Our property management website is intriguepm.com. And our real estate team website is neighbors.team. So no .com, just neighbors.team. Or feel free to shoot me an email, ryan@intriguepm.com or ryan.rominger@compass.com.
You got a lot of things to check.
You got
a lot going on there.
You should see my computer. I've got like 2 Chrome browsers up at once.
How many screens do you have? You must have multiple screens.
I have 4.
Good.
Because I have like the 3 screens and I have my laptop below it.
I understand. That's what I got. Exactly. So. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can call 317-672-1938. That's 317-672-1938. And follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
A reminder, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, contact us. We'll be more than happy to help you. Ryan, thank you for joining us on our show. It's been a pleasure having you on it.
Yeah, thank you for having me, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, it's great. We appreciate it.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Rittman's NMLS number 664589. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.